Today, a massive injury report. We get to know the whereabouts of both Paul Blackburn and rookie sensation Christian Scott. Will they be back on the team this season or next? We're going to answer that today. And also, we take a look back at LuisAngel Acuna's first home run as a Met. You know, that Scherzer trade doesn't sound too bad after all. What's going on, Metropolitans? You are locked into Mets Digest, your number one shop for Mets content all around the world. My name is Flobo Boyce. Thank you so much for rocking with me and supporting the channel. Myself, alongside Michael D'Angelo, work tirelessly to break down what's going on in Mets fandom. So you gotta do me a favor. You're watching this right now and you're part of that crew that has hit that not subscribed. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to know when new content drops. You're in the know. Whew! I don't know about you, but as I record this, being tied for the second wild card position is pretty rad. I didn't think it would have happened a week ago after that really awkward series against the Phillies, but the Mets never say die, even with Lindor going down, which we reported right here on the digest. The Mets are still finding ways to win, and they're doing it with a lineup that just seems to be hot swapping parts. Carlos Mendoza has been an absolute wizard in making that happen. But one of the pieces that was acquired during the trade deadline that hasn't been on the team is Paul Blackburn. Paulie Punch-Outs is what they called him, was out with a mysterious back injury, which we found out was actually a spinal fluid leak. I'm going to be honest with you. I never heard that before. I was kind of scared, but general manager, or say president of baseball operations, David Stearns, says that sounds a lot worse than what it really was. And we have an update for Paul Blackburn. Look, the rotation is finally firing on all cylinders. A month ago, I was worried about Quintana. Right now, I feel pretty confident in his skills. Enough has not been said about Sean Manaea and Luis Severino, and even David Peterson, who somehow has the gift of gab when it comes to the offense. We seem to hit so many runs when David Peterson is on the mound. And with Kodai Senga possibly coming back to the end of the season, you would be remiss if you would say, do we really need Paul Blackburn? But I always say, all hands on deck. This comes from SNY TV when it comes to the injury prognosis of Paul Blackburn. Mets right-hander Paul Blackburn is making progress towards return from a back ailment that involved tightness and leaking spinal fluid. That just makes me cringe just reading it out loud. Blackburn said before Wednesday's game that he had gotten roughly 10 PRP as platelet-rich plasma injections, and he was targeting a return during the middle of the week. And that answers a lot of questions for us, what the rotation is going to be, because if he's going to return, I'm pretty sure you'll have Paul Blackburn in that rotation. And also, what exactly we're going to do when it comes down to the workload, right? Because if you have an option for a six-man rotation, especially if you want to keep that wedge open for Kodai Senga, which has shown he is more comfortable in the six-man rotation, why not start that with Paulie Punch-Out? Check this out here. We always kind of show this when we get an update on Blackburn. Really wasn't super amazing on the mound for us, but we only have a small sample size, I think, with the time down in the minors and more time to think about mechanics and all that jazz. And I hopefully maybe some research from that ever secretive pitching lab or pitching data, we might have ourselves an upswing. Paul Blackburn is a serviceable hand. Definitely something you want on that playoff roster if there ever was one, even if he's not necessarily your ace. So it's always good that we got ourselves a little bit of an update when it comes to Paul Blackburn, but there's also some rough news. Rookie pitcher Christian Scott looked like he was trying to hold on to see whether or not he had a bit of that juice to come back without surgery on that forearm that was giving him tightness, and it looks like that won't be the case. It looks like Tommy John surgery is on the horizon for Scott, with meaning 2025 could possibly be punted. Check this out. This one comes from CBS Sports. Shout out to RJ Anderson in his reporting. New York Mets right-hander Christian Scott will undergo elbow surgery next week to both replace the ulnar collateral ligament, that's the one in the elbow, not the one in the thumb, also known as Tommy John, and install an internal brace. Agent Nate Hessler announced on Wednesday. While every player and every rehab stint is different, that likely takes Scott out through the 2025 season. A year is a good way of measuring it and of course, a team that's not necessarily hurting for bodies will probably let you go the entire year off. Scott, only 25 years old, has been sidelined since July 21st. I think the future is still bright with Scott, even though his sample size wasn't the greatest as well. I felt like either he got roughed up and the games were lost, or he did very well and the offense was sleeping. It was kind of unfortunate. He was actually one of the rookie pitching experiments during the coldest part of the Mets season. But I wish him well. Tommy John isn't necessarily the career ender it was, or the career modifier it was. We've seen a lot of pitchers being able to work on one, and even more so being to work on their second Tommy John. Shout out to Jacob deGrom, who's doing that right now over in Texas. And so, speaking of Texas, last year the Mets made a trade for a certain prospect, and his name is LuisAngel Acuna, brother of Ronald Acuna Jr. over the Braves. It was considered one of the hottest prospects in the Mets system, so it was always a matter of time before he got the call himself to show out and make himself a part of the team. Now, people are always wondering about how he's going to be used. I think Carlos Mendoza needs a slice of credit for this, because it's very intoxicating for a rookie manager to swap Acuna 1-for-1 for Francisco Lindor, the man who went down with the back injury, who is still, as of this recording, less than day-to-day. But being able to rotate the offensive need, the load between J.D. Martinez, Francisco Alvarez, and Pete Alonso, and also some of the infield load between Iglesias and Alvarez. So we have an opportunity for Acuna to really find his niche, and find his niche he did. During that series against the Washington Nationals, and I understand it's going to be somebody to be all naysaying and poo-pooing and being like, well, it's only the Nationals. I say patooey. LuisAngel Acuna hit his first ever home run, and that is an achievement unto itself. Being part of the team, being able to offensively produce, get his first extra base hit and RBI on the same night. The future is bright for the young infielder. This one here comes from Rotoballer. Shout out to Conley Doan, who says, New York Mets shortstop prospect LuisAngel Acuna had a milestone evening in Tuesday's 10-1 win over the Nationals. The 22-year-old went 3 for 4 with a single, a double, and a solo home run and 2 RBI. Yeah, that's one triple shy of the what? Acuna crushed an 8th inning Joe La Sorsa offering deep into left center field for his first big league long ball. To be fair, the Acuna swing runs in the family because it looks a lot like Ronald Acuna Jr.'s. Acuna, who is the Mets' number 12 prospect per MLB Pipeline, has hit .455 with an 8.18 slugging percentage in his first 4 games. And I love the memes on Twitter saying that, well, in 4 games, Acuna clears Volpe. It's totally inaccurate, but I love the fact that we're able to troll the Yankees for this. And as we roll into this weekend with a series with the Phillies on the horizon, being number 2 in the wild card, it says a lot about the prospects and how Carlos Mendoza has a little bit more latitude of how he wants to use his first team or second team to make sure the depth is still sharp. You have Lindor coming back, possibly Blackburn coming back, and possibly Kodai Senga coming back. But when you have everyone contributing, you really put the load off of the manager to plug in the best matchup when it comes to the pitchers from the opposite team. So a lot of good things for the Mets side. With Paul Blackburn coming back, with LuisAngel Acuna getting his first home run. I think the first of many with a swing quite like that. Bad news for Christian Scott, but if the winning culture, if this formula between Mendoza and Stearns is going to be part of the ever-long mix with the Mets, when Christian Scott is ready in 2026, he can slot in with the team that's really built to win and win over a long period of time. Let me ask you this. If you're watching us right now, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about LuisAngel Acuna being on the team? He was just called up less than a week ago, already contributing. How do you feel about Paul Blackburn, about ready to come back into the rotation? And how do you feel about Christian Scott, someone that had a lot of promise, didn't really quite get a showcase game to earn his stripes, being out for presumably the entirety of the 2025 season? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Hey, you reached the end of the video. Again, my name is Flobo Boyce. You are locked in to Mets Digest. I would love to hear your comments. I've been reading your comments all summer long. It means the world to me. And I want to be back here just as quickly as we're starting this video. We'll be back here soon with more Mets news and notes. But until next time, it's LGM to the bitter end.